He shall be called Moses, because I drew him from the water.
In the land of Egypt, a powerful nation ruled by Pharaoh, a decree was issued. Every newborn Hebrew boy must be thrown into the Nile. The Hebrew population had grown too large, and Pharaoh feared their strength. Among the enslaved Hebrews was a woman named Jochebed, who gave birth to a son. This child was different. There was something special about him. Jochebed, desperate to save her son, crafted a small basket, carefully waterproofing it with pitch. Her heart heavy with worry, she placed her baby in the basket and set him adrift on the Nile, praying that God would protect him. As the baby floated down the river, a divine plan was unfolding. Pharaoh's daughter, while bathing by the Nile, spotted the basket. Drawn by the cries of the baby inside, she opened it and, moved by compassion, decided to adopt the child, naming him Moses, drawn from the water. Unknown to her, Moses' real sister Miriam was watching from a distance. She cleverly arranged for their mother, Jochebed, to nurse the child, ensuring Moses grew up knowing his true heritage. Years passed, and Moses grew up in the royal courts of Egypt, but he never forgot where he came from. One fateful day, after witnessing the harsh treatment of his people, Moses' anger boiled over, and he killed an Egyptian who was beating a Hebrew slave. Fearing for his life, Moses fled Egypt, leaving behind the luxury of the palace for the barren wilderness of Midian. While in Midian, Moses found refuge and became a shepherd, tending to his father-in-law Jethro's flock. One day, while leading the flock through the desert, he saw something extraordinary, a bush that was engulfed in flames but was not consumed by the fire. As Moses drew closer to investigate, a voice called out, "Moses, Moses." Trembling, Moses replied, "Here I am." The voice continued, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remove your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." God had chosen Moses for a great mission, to return to Egypt and free the Israelites from bondage. Moses, full of doubt and fear, protested, claiming he was not eloquent and that Pharaoh would never listen to him. But God reassured Moses, giving him miraculous signs, the power to turn his staff into a serpent and the ability to bring plagues upon Egypt. With God's command in his heart and his brother Aaron by his side, Moses returned to Egypt, standing boldly before Pharaoh. "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, let my people go." But Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he refused to listen. So began a series of plagues that demonstrated the power of the God of Israel over all of Egypt's gods. The Nile turned to blood, killing the fish and fouling the water. Frogs swarmed the land, followed by gnats and flies. Livestock perished, boils afflicted the people, hail rained down from the sky, and locusts devoured the crops. A thick darkness covered the land for 3 days. Still, Pharaoh refused to let the Israelites go. Finally, God sent the most devastating plague, the death of every firstborn in Egypt. But God instructed Moses to tell the Israelites to prepare a special meal and mark their doorposts with the blood of a lamb. That night, as the angel of death passed through Egypt, it spared every house marked with blood. This moment would be remembered forever as the Passover. When Pharaoh's own son died, his spirit was broken. He summoned Moses in the dead of night and shouted, "Go, leave my people, you and the Israelites. Go, worship the Lord as you have requested." In the early hours of the morning, the Israelites left Egypt in haste, carrying with them the wealth of the Egyptians who had begged them to leave. They followed Moses into the wilderness, their hearts full of hope and fear. But Pharaoh soon regretted letting them go, and he sent his army to bring them back. As the Israelites approached the Red Sea, trapped between the waters and Pharaoh's approaching army, they cried out in terror. But Moses stood firm, raising his staff as God commanded. With a mighty wind, the waters of the Red Sea parted, creating a dry path for the Israelites to cross. Once they were safely on the other side, Moses lowered his staff, and the waters crashed back, engulfing Pharaoh's army and ending the threat once and for all. The Israelites sang songs of praise, rejoicing in their deliverance. The journey to the Promised Land was not easy. The Israelites wandered through the barren desert, quickly running out of food and water. They grumbled against Moses, questioning whether freedom was worth the hardships they now faced. But God never abandoned them. Each morning God provided manna, a bread-like substance that appeared on the ground, and in the evenings, quail for meat. When they thirsted, God instructed Moses to strike a rock, and from it, water flowed, quenching their thirst. In battle, as long as Moses raised his hands to heaven, the Israelites were victorious, a sign of their reliance on God's strength. 3 months after leaving Egypt, the Israelites arrived at Mount Sinai. Here, God called Moses to ascend the mountain, shrouded in thick clouds of smoke, thunder, and lightning. The people below trembled, but Moses went up to meet with God. On Mount Sinai, God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, laws that would guide the Israelites and set them apart as his chosen people. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. These commandments would become the foundation of Israel's covenant with God, a sacred contract that required their obedience and loyalty. While Moses was on the mountain, the Israelites grew restless. They feared he would not return, so they pressured Aaron to make a god for them. Aaron fashioned a golden calf, and the people bowed down to worship it, breaking the very commandment Moses was receiving. When Moses descended the mountain and saw their idolatry, his anger burned hot. He threw down the stone tablets, shattering them at the base of the mountain. Moses called out for those who would stand with God, and punishment came upon those who had turned away. Yet, in his mercy, God renewed his covenant with Israel, and Moses once again ascended the mountain to receive the commandments on new tablets. After the Israelites' betrayal, God gave Moses detailed instructions for building the tabernacle, a portable sanctuary where his presence would dwell among the people. Inside, the Ark of the Covenant was placed, containing the stone tablets, a symbol of God's unbreakable promise to Israel. The tabernacle became the heart of Israel's worship, a place where God's glory rested, guiding them through the wilderness by a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. Moses led the Israelites for 40 years, through trials, rebellions, and victories. But in the end, even Moses was not permitted to enter the Promised Land because of a moment of disobedience at Meribah, where he struck a rock in anger rather than speaking to it as God commanded. In his final days, Moses climbed Mount Nebo and gazed upon the Promised Land from afar, knowing that his journey had come to an end. He passed his leadership to Joshua, and there, on the mountain, Moses died. Yet his legacy lived on, not only in the laws and traditions of Israel, but in the hearts of all who would come to know the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share.